Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we are driving the brand new Land Rover Defender. Actually, brand new might be a bit of a stretch because the new generation was unveiled back in late 2019. But I finally got my hands on it and I'm gonna tell you all about it in a second. When talking about such iconic cars like the Defender, it's kind of hard to touch on them and on their design without offending a few people or two, because this car is a legend. I mean, when you think of cars with aid going to all over the world, you instantly think of this design, this rugged shaped design, and creating a modern design for the car was definitely a challenge. And I think the people from Land Rover did it brilliantly, because the car still looks boxy and it is still practical and it looks imposing and big and everything you want to associate with the Defender name. Now up front you will notice that the headlights still have this round element daytime running light that reminds you of the older Defenders, and the front overhang is very short so that you can get a good approaching angle, which actually this car has, because the new Defender has a 38-degree approach angle, which is very good. Still, the old model had a better approach angle. I think it was 44 degrees, but you need to keep in mind that the old Defender didn't have to abide by so many rules when it comes to crash protection. So this portion of the car had to be a bit longer because of all these regulations, but still, overall, compared to many modern SUVs, it's pretty short. That allows you to approach a very steep hill with no problem. You might also notice that there is a lot of wheel travel. The new version comes with a different approach. It doesn't use a ladder chassis anymore. It's no longer a body-on-frame SUV, but a normal one. So we have a very stiff chassis going on a independent suspension, and apart from the entry-level models, the new Defender comes with air suspension on most of the cars. This one has it. I'm having it in the off-road setup right now, so basically it is lifted and the wheel travel goes up to 50 centimeters or 500 millimeters, and that is important when you're talking about a car that is supposed to go off-roading. Also, you should know that the ground clearance of the new Defender is 291 millimeters, and you can raise the suspension by 14.5 centimeters or 145 millimeters. From the sides, the car looks ruggish, just like it should. It doesn't have a great drag coefficient, but that's not the point of a Defender. It is very tall, and the doors cover the door sills almost entirely. There's still a bit of door sill over here that's not covered, and that might ruin your trousers, but you know what, that's that. When you're going mudding or off-roading with this car, you need to make peace with the fact that you might ruin your pants. The rear end is also featuring a very short overhang. The departure angle this car can take is 40 degrees, which is class leading, better than the Wrangler and better than the Toyota Land Cruiser. And I also like the fact that on the back end we have these rectangular stoplights that look absolutely amazing and in tune with the times, but also have a retro feel to them. We also have a full spare wheel over here attached to the rear door. I should also mention the boot, which has a total storage space of 867 liters, which is absolutely huge. You can have it with a special metal lining so that you can protect it. You can fold the seats and increase that storage space a lot. The cars also come with safari windows over here that are noticeable from the inside more than from the outside. The interior of the new Defender is also one of the highlights because everything was redone, and if you remember the old models, you probably remember they weren't great inside, and that was one of the main criticism people had about them. But the new one feels like a 21st century car. You get premium materials inside, worthy of the Land Rover badge, good feeling leather everywhere around, and a design that mixes the old with the new. For example, you see these exposed screws on the doors and over here on the center console, they are put there on intentionally because they wanted people to be reminded of the heritage this car has. Also, we have an infotainment screen over here, and the infotainment system works really well. It's really easy to use and has a beautiful design. You can switch between a light theme and a dark theme. Looks great, works with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which should put your worries to rest, because everybody uses those features today, because we can't part ways with Waze or Google Maps, can we? Over here you have a very simple control system for various functions of the car. You can use this to adjust the climate control. You can use this to adjust the car's ride height. You can engage the low range mode over here, and you can scroll through different driving modes. The gear shift lever is pretty hefty and feels good to the touch, and you basically feel like you're in a truck when you're driving this car, not only because of this shape of this gear shift lever, but also because you're sitting very, very high. The steering wheel, it looks and feels very good to the touch. You have some command buttons over here on each side of it, and the instrument cluster is digital, looks good, really easy to use. And imagine this, you have a digital instrument cluster in a Defender. How far have we come? Plenty of storage spaces around. You have a 12 volt socket over here, or a USB charging port, depending on how you configure your car. Plenty of storage space over there. Plenty of storage space over here. You can fit huge bottles of water under the center console as well. And the center console is huge, actually. 2 cup holders over here, but you can configure this car in a number of ways. You can get a 3-seat bench up front. You can get no center console over here, so you have only an open space, so you can slide in the back real easily, and so on. On this car, we also have the Meridian sound system, which actually sounds pretty good. It's not the best, but it sounds pretty good, and you wouldn't expect such great sound quality in a Defender, that's for sure. The seats are ventilated and heated if you want them to, so you have the exact amount of luxury you may want inside a Land Rover Defender these days. You are not confined to getting a Spartan interior like it used to be the case on the old model. Yeah, so I like it a lot. As you might expect, the rear seats have a lot of room as well. There is room for people of all body sizes and shapes, of course. You have plug-in chargers over here in the seats. You have anchor points over here. You have 4 more chargers down here, 2 12-volt sockets and 2 USB type A sockets. So you're pretty much covered. We have handles over here for easy access because this is a tall riding car. We have a panoramic view sunroof, which is absolutely brilliant. And of course, the safari windows I mentioned earlier, which let in more light. I should also point out that you can configure the Defender these days with a 7-seat configuration. So the rear safari windows will be very helpful if you have people in the 3rd row. The second row of seats can also be configured in 2 or 3-seat configurations. We have it in the 3-seat configuration over here. You can get it with sliding seats with adjustable seat backs, and in typical Defender fashion, you can actually adjust these seats so that you can fold them and have a flat floor in the back. So yeah, looks pretty incredible to me. All doors come with safety features such as a light on them that warns you whenever you're opening the door if there's cross traffic coming in. So yeah, pretty amazing. I am very impressed by the new Defender. When you get behind the wheel of the new Defender, you immediately feel just how refined it is and how much of a normal car it actually feels like, because that was an issue with the old Defenders, because they were built on leather chassis, they were body on frames, and that took a toll on the comfort you felt inside. Of course, that helped out when it came to off-roading, but this car isn't too shabby in that direction either. So the new Land Rover Defender comes with a air suspension as standard on most models. You can get a coil spring setup on entry-level models, but other than that, you can go every single model afterwards is fitted with air suspension as standard. And a lot of people have been complaining that air suspension isn't exactly the most reliable system, and that is correct. And they said that losing the live axles at the back and front would be an issue in off-roading, but that's not really the case, because the car has a wheel travel of 50 centimeters or 500 millimeters, and the air suspension has some tricks up its sleeve. For example, the wheels are cross-connected, so basically when the front left wheel is fully compressed, the air from that airbag goes to the rear right side. That's done in order to push the rear wheel as much as possible towards the ground so that you can maybe possibly get some grip. And that is a clever system that Land Rover has been working on. That's just one example in which the new Defender is better than the old one. And I have to say that this new approach with independent multi-link axles is a lot more comfortable on normal roads, because after all, people will be driving these cars around town as well. Not only they won't only go off-roading, and I feel like the Defender will become a much more common occurrence inside busy streets, busy city centers, than the old one ever was. And that's mainly because of this setup, this chassis, this suspension that make this car a very attractive proposal. And this car drives really well. It's comfortable, it's silent, you sit very up high, you have a great view of the road, and this tall ground clearance just makes you feel like you can basically drive over anything. And this car is capable of a lot of things. I took it off-road and tested it a little. I didn't go on a very hardcore trail, but I did some off-road testing and it was impeccable. You have a lot of driving modes to choose from over here, from mud ruts, grass, gravel, snow, to sand, rock crawl, wading, and a configurable setup. But the one you will be using most of the time is auto terrain response. This one uses a lot of sensors all around the car to choose the best setup for you, and it actually works. I only used the car in the auto mode and it worked flawlessly in every type of situation I threw it in. Now, in terms of traction, you should know that the car has two locking differentials, one right here in the middle and one at the back, and they are automatic. So basically they lock up and disengage automatically depending on what the car's computers are saying. And they lock up and disengage very fast. They are seamless and they work. They simply work. If you had to do this the old-fashioned way, to lock them manually, you couldn't possibly do that as fast as these differentials are doing. Furthermore, you have a low-range button over here that allows you to manually lock everything up, use a transfer case, and actually amplify the engine's power depending on the scenario you're in. So if you want to do that, you can also do that, but you don't have that gear lever anymore like the old Defenders used to. So this whole electronic side of things might piss off a lot of people, but it works, people, it works. And if it works, why not use it? Why not use modern day technology to bring this car into the 21st century? This is the most capable off-road car I've been in. Its main rivals are the Toyota Land Cruiser and of course the Jeep Wrangler. That's if you exclude the other Land Rovers in the range right now, like the Discovery, for example. And this car works. It's very good off-road. I had absolutely no issue with it. Now let's talk about the engines. This part will vary depending on the country you're in. The range is made up of engines from 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol and diesel units up to 3-liter 6-cylinders, straight 6 engines, and 525 horsepower V8. So you have plenty of choices to pick from. My pick of the range would be the 3-liter straight 6 diesel engine because it has more torque than the petrol engine I am driving right now. We are in the P400, which means it has a 3-liter 6-cylinder engine under the hood, developing 400 horsepower and 550 Newton meters of torque from 2000 RPM. It's a mild hybrid engine and it works really good. It's well balanced, sounds good, but it does drink a lot of fuel because this is a big car. That's why I would go for the diesel, not only for the fuel consumption, but because it has in its least powerful engine, the 3-liter diesel has 650 Newton meters of torque available. And that is very useful whenever you go off-roading and whatever you want to do with this car, because it tips the scale at 2,400 kilos, so it weighs 2.4 tons. It's a heavy one, so you might want to keep that in mind. Now, all these engines are new Ingenium engines, Ingenium family engines, so, you know, Land Rover isn't particularly known for its reliability, but you know what, driving this car for a couple of days, I absolutely fell in love with it. And you know what, I don't really care. If I want to buy an SUV, because this car is very well finished inside, I mean, you can forget about the old Defender. This car has a premium fit and finish. Feels great to the touch everywhere, looks great. I mean, I really cannot complain. The seats are comfortable, it's quiet inside, doesn't transfer a lot of vibrations from the road into the cabin like it was the case with the old body-on-frame cars. And you can actually live with this car day by day, and I would love to buy me one if I could afford it. But you know what, if you're looking for an SUV, especially if you're looking for a very capable off-roading SUV, this should be on your very, very short list. It's a very good car, and I absolutely love it. And you should get it with the 3-liter diesel engine. And don't worry about reliability issues, because you'll have 4 years of warranty. Most countries get 4 years of warranty. I guess this will depend on where you live. And you know what? They'll fix it. If anything goes wrong, they will fix it. So it's worth the trouble in my book. It is a brilliant car. Of course, being this big, driving it around town might be an issue because you might have some trouble finding parking spots. You need to be careful whenever you're parking this car, because the rear single hinge door is quite big, and you need to make sure you leave enough room in the back for opening it and getting your stuff out of the back. But other than that, I absolutely adored this car, and I think you can see it from my face. I loved my time behind the wheel. And this has been my review of the Land Rover Defender. It's a very capable and posh car these days that I'm sure will be selling like hotcakes. I'm sure you guys have more questions about it. Don't forget to drop them in the comment section below. I am more than happy to answer them. Until next time, don't forget to, of course, like, share, and subscribe to keep this channel alive. Don't forget to feed your passions. Ciao.